everyone. I'm very happy to call to order this City Council meeting for the afternoon of August 20th using the gavel of Mayor Janet Gray Hayes, just this little gavel here. So we'll call that meeting to order. A woman who knew that to get things done, you should walk softly and carry a big gavel. All right. Tony, can we take the roll?
Jimenez.
Present.
Torres.
Thank you.
Cohen. Ortiz.
Present.
Davis.
Here.
Dwan.
Here.
Candelas.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Batra.
Present.
Kamei.
Here.
Mahan.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Now, if you're able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Today's invocation will be provided by Venerable Thich Quang Bao from the Yi Lak Temple, and Councilmember Dwan will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Venerable Thich Phap Lu, as known as Venerable Thich Quang Bao. Venerable Thich Quang Lu, the founder of Trung Tâm Văn Hóa Phật giáo Di Lặc Incorporated, is a beacon of service and compassion. His journey began in Vietnam, reflecting an inspiring blending of scholarship and selfless service. After arriving in the United States in the early 2000s, he embarked on an academic and spiritual path that would not only shape his own life, but also touch countless others. He earned his bachelor's degree in English linguistics and Buddhology before pursuing advanced study in religious study, psychology, and experimental psychology. This unique combination of knowledge and insight has enabled him to bridge cultures and community in an extraordinary ways. In 2007, he founded Trung Tâm Văn Hóa Phật giáo Di Lặc Incorporated, Yi Lak Temple, located in San Jose. Under his visionary leadership, this temple has grown to become a cornerstone of our Bay Area community. It has been recognized by esteemed leaders such as Congressman Ro Khanna, State Assembly Member Ash Kara, and numerous local officials for its contribution and unwavering commitment to service. The impact he made with this temple was particularly notable during the challenging time of COVID pandemic. His dedication to the community support provided PPE, organizing food drive, and hosting vaccination events demonstrated a profound commitment to the well-being of all. Today, Trung Tâm Văn Hóa Phật giáo Di Lặc Incorporated continue to serve as a vibrant hub, offering an array of services from senior nutritional program to meditation, yoga, and various cultural and educational classes. The temple efforts, such as daily distribution of around 350 meals, highlight the ongoing dedication to the needs of our community. Currently, he is pursuing his doctorate degree in psychology at California Southern University while translating the Nikaya Tripitaka into Vietnamese, an endeavor that reflects his relentless pursuit of knowledge and commitment to preserving and sharing the wisdom of Buddhism. As we gather today, let us acknowledge and celebrate his extraordinary contribution. His life work exemplifies the very essence of compassion, dedication, and community spirit. Please join me in giving a warm and heartfelt welcome to Venerable Thich Phap Lu. We are honored to have him with us today.
Dear
San Jose Mayor and council member of the city. Hello, everyone. It's my honor to be here to do the invocation. This is my second time in the City Hall. And coming with me today, Yansin, he Chinese Kung Fu master, and two of my student assistant, Jonathan and Daniel. So we do the bell invitation and a sutra about loving kindness in English, so that everyone understand the power of loving kindness and compassion in our life today. Thank you. Nguyện tiếng chuông này vang pháp giới.
May the sound of this bell penetrate deeply into the cosmos.
Khắp nơi u ám thấy đều nghe.
In even the darkest places, may living beings hear it clearly.
Siêu nhiên vượt thoát vòng đau khổ.
So that understanding comes to their heart and without hardship.
Vượng tâm tuệ giác nợ san tươi.
They transcend the cycle of birth and death.
The Sutra on Love and Kindness, read by Daniel Fang and Jonathan Fang.
One, loving kindness. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jada's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus. Venerable Sir, the bhikkhu replied. The Blessed One said this: Bhikkhu, when the liberation of the mind by loving kindness has been pursued, developed, and cultivated, made a vehicle and basis, carried out, consolidated, and properly undertaken, 8 benefits are to be expected. What 8? 1. One sleeps well. 2. One awakens happily. 3. One does not have bad dreams. 4. One is pleasing to human beings. 5. One is pleasing to spirits. 6. Deities protect one. 7. Fire, poison, and weapons do not injure one. And 8. If one does not penetrate further, one moves on to the Brahma world. When bhikkhu, the liberation of the mind by loving kindness has been pursued, developed, and cultivated, made a vehicle and basis carried out, consolidated, and properly undertaken, these 8 benefits are to be expected.
For one who ever mindful develops measureless loving kindness, the feathers thin out as he sees the destruction of the acquisitions. If, with the mind free of hate, one arouses love toward just one being, one thereby becomes good. Compassionate in mind toward all beings, the noble one generates abundant merit. Those royal sages who conquered the earth with its multitudes of beings traveled around performing sacrifices, the horse sacrifice, the person sacrifice. Samapasa, Vahapeya, Niragala. All these are not worth a 16th part of a well-developed, loving mind, just as the host of stars cannot match a 16th part of the moon's radiance. One who does not kill or enjoin killing, who does not conquer or enjoin conquest, one who has loving kindness toward all beings, harbors no enmity towards anyone.
That's it. Thank you everyone for your right attention and my right mindfulness in this present moment.
Thank you, Venerable Thich Quang Bao. We appreciate you being providing our invocation today to start off our City Council meeting. We're on to ceremonial items. We have two today. Council members Foley, Davis, and Torres, if you would join me at the podium, we will recognize and proclaim August 19th through 25th as Silicon Valley Pride Week.
Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Pam Foley, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Councilmember Dev Davis. Unfortunately, Councilmember Torres is out of town and unable to participate, although I know he's here in spirit. As we proclaim August 19th through the 25th as Silicon Valley Pride Week. In San Jose, we celebrate Pride, not only Pride Month in June, but with our very own Pride Week. We're that special. It's always important for me to start any Pride event by remembering why we celebrate Pride each year. Pride began as an event to acknowledge the 1969 Stonewall riots, where members of the gay and transgender community were victimized. Since these riots, generations of members of the LGBT community and their allies have fought to obtain protections and rights other groups have achieved, such as the right to marry. Today, these rights, achieved after many years of struggles, continue to be under attack by dangerous legislation and rhetoric across our country. We must not allow our country to return to 1969, depriving our LGBTQ+ community of the rights and protections that they all deserve. This November, California voters will decide whether to enshrine gay marriage in the state constitution. Marriage equality is not just about the legal union of two people. It affirms the basic human dignity of all individuals, regardless of whom they love, and ensures that love, commitment, and family are recognized and respected equally by the law. The equality we continue to fight for tells LGBTQ+ individuals that their love is just as valid, their commitments are just as meaningful, and their families are just as important as anyone else's. This is why we must be diligent in continuing to fight to protect our members of the LGBTQ+ community. We must ensure that everyone, no matter who they are or whom they love, has an equal place in our society. I dedicate my life to it. It's not only personal for me, but it's the right thing to do. With this year's theme, Get Loud, and I hope everybody gets loud with me, we're amplifying voices and spreading joy throughout the community. Throughout this week, we are proud to get loud and support Silicon Valley Pride as they host many inclusive events and end the week of celebrations with a Pride Parade and Festival on August 24th and 25th. And if anyone is looking for a group to walk with, you're welcome to come walk with District 9, and we have some things some ribbons and bracelets you can pass out with us. As one of this week's events, we're proud to host tonight's flag raising and lighting ceremony at City Hall at 5 p.m. as we light City Hall in rainbow pride colors and raise the rainbow pride and transgender flags. I'm delighted to invite one of the many individuals from the Silicon Valley Pride organization who works hard and volunteers their time and energy to create a more inclusive and vibrant LGBT plus community in Silicon Valley. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the Chief Diversity Officer at Silicon Valley Pride, Bianca Zamora.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Foley, and thank you so much, Honorable Mayor, and to the San Jose City Council. Happy Silicon Valley Pride Month. My name is Bianca Tonantzin Zamora. I use she and her pronouns, and it is my great pleasure to serve as the Diversity Officer for Silicon Valley Pride. And as we know, Pride is not just a moment in time or a month in our year. Pride is a lifelong movement, a movement that is rooted in deep history, an activism that works to address systemic violence imposed on queer and trans communities. The 1969 Stonewall Uprising is really marked as an igniting point for what we know as the first Pride March today. 55 years ago, members of the LGBTQ community who were experiencing marginalization through various forms of oppression mobilized to address acts of state-sanctioned transphobic and homophobic violence. And we know that it is our government's advocacy and decision-making at all levels that is often shaping the realities and senses of safety for queer and trans people every day. From 1969 to present 2024, we are seeing across the United States the regression of protections and rights for queer and trans communities, from proposals calling for the elimination of identity-based language like gender and sexual orientation, to the criminalization of gender-affirming healthcare, to the enforced outing of queer and trans youth in their schools. It is only fitting that this 49th annual Silicon Valley Pride theme is Get Loud, because we have a lot to get loud about. We in California and in Silicon Valley serve as the example of possibilities for queer and trans rights. States across the US are looking at us to see where the needle for change is going. So we cannot be complacent with protections that solely seek for LGBTQ communities to survive, but we have to think about how do we push the needle so that LGBTQ plus communities can thrive in this country. Change needs all of us advocating for possibilities of change. It needs all of us to get loud and proud. So, I am inviting you to join us for our 49th annual Silicon Valley Pride Parade and Festival in downtown San Jose's Cesar Chavez Plaza to celebrate queer and trans community, joy, and our collective path to continue moving the needle forward. So I want you to go to siliconvalleypride.com if you want to learn more about all our amazing events this week. Happy Pride, everyone, and it's time to get loud. Thank you.
Bianca, I know Nicole Altamirano could not be here today with Silicon Valley Pride, but she would have been very proud of your message today because she's always challenging us, and you did just as well. Mayor, would you like to present the proclamation?
On behalf of the whole city council, thanks for the work you're doing in our community. We'll see you tonight for the flag raising.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put you in the middle here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you tonight. Thanks, Councilman.
Thanks.
Councilmember Ortiz, if you'll join me here at the podium, we will recognize Fa Tik Tok. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are honoring a pillar of our District 5 business community, Fa Tik Tok. Opened almost a decade ago by a Vietnamese immigrant family, Pho TikTok has weathered the storms of the pandemic and supply chain issues through the strength of the community they've been able to build on the corner of Capitol and McKee Avenue in District 5. Recently, I've been happy to find a partner with them to address community concerns surrounding blight and encampments in the surrounding corridor. Through passion, cross-cultural connection, and partnerships with the community, Pho TikTok has been able to set a model of business practices and ethics serving the Vietnamese community of District 5. And it's my honor to have the council present a commendation to the founders and owners of Pho TikTok. And now I'd like to invite Dee to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor, and all the council members. Well, I just want to use this opportunity to thank you, the San Jose, for giving us a wonderful the award today. Quite often, people asking me why is I named the restaurant is Pho TikTok. Well, actually, the clock is tick-tock, tick-tock every second. I'm just thank America for a land of great opportunity for the immigrant like us here. We're working really hard. At this point, I still work 2 jobs. I own the development company with the construction with other business partners, and at the same time, I do the restaurant. So I know all of us is working really hard. End of the day, we just want to wrap around our family and friends to have a great dinners and drink and eat and laugh together. That is the reason I named my restaurant is TikTok. Every second is count. Every second is important. So, and then also open the restaurant. It just gave me the opportunity to share our cultures with other people, and also seeing other people bringing their family, sharing the culture with us. It's just a wonderful, amazing experience. After work, go to the restaurant, see different people. And also, I am very thankful for the city of San Jose that gave us the opportunity to open the restaurant in one of the cities that largest in the nation here. Basically, I call the city, it's just a very rich cultures with the art, music. Definitely, it's just food is a major thing for the city of San Jose here. In my other business line, I have a lot of foreign people come on over here over the world and visit us quite often. I always tell them that, hey, you know what? If you come to San Jose, everything that you ever ask for, especially food, you name it, Thai, Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, we have it for you. So anyway, I just so grateful, but I also thank you, the council member Peters, that actually coordinate with us to help to make the surrounding our restaurant and neighborhood is safe for our customer and the neighborhood. So thank you very much.
And now I ask the mayor to please present the commendation.
Congratulations on your success. Here, we'll take a photo.
HG, take the photo.
Of course. Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I just kind of like forgot my business partner. So this is actually my business partner, Jacinda Do. She is also the PhD in scientist. And then recently, my brother is he's a computer engineer, and then he just feel that end of the day working is so boring. So that's why he want to join the restaurants as well. So Chun Nguyen and Jacinda Do, thank you very much.
All right, brother. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you both. The good work. All right. We are on to orders of the day. Does anyone on the council have any changes to the printed agenda? Not seeing any. Today's meeting will be adjourned in memory of Marie Arnold, beloved wife, mother, grandmother, aunt, friend, registered nurse, and community activist who passed away peacefully surrounded by her loving family on July 16th of this year. Marie was a longtime resident of the Blossom Valley neighborhood and a former San Jose neighborhood commissioner. She will be remembered for her big heart, sharp wit, and desire to help others. Councilmember Jimenez will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my sincere honor today to adjourn this meeting in remembrance of Marie Arnold. As the Mayor said, a mother, wife, grandmother, community leader, and a friend to many. Marie held no formal title in the community, but her place in the hearts of many went beyond titles. The word authentic comes to mind when I think of her. She was real, she was loving, she was compassionate, and was no nonsense. Marie was a 64-year resident of San Jose. She was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, where she received her nurse's training and began her interest in political and community engagement. She moved to San Francisco as a young nurse, where she met her wonderful husband, Paul, who's here with us today, her loving husband of 64 years. While raising their 6 children in San Jose, Marie compassionately and expertly assisted countless women as a labor and delivery nurse for 42 years. The Master of Multitasking, she also earned her Bachelor of Science in Nursing from San Jose State University during this busy time. She shared her boundless energy, passion, and kindness with her civic and church communities. She taught religious education, was active with the American Association of University Women, and served as the membership chair of the League of Women Voters, many of which are joining us here today, both virtually and present. Marie was an instrumental member of her Blossom Valley Neighborhood Association, which is in District 2, and served as a neighborhood commissioner for the city of San Jose. She was a pillar of the District 2 community. She was engaged, a proactive leader, and an exemplary neighbor. My team and I were in awe of her energy. She regularly led community events and participated in many community meetings all over the district. And if you didn't know any better, you'd think she was angling to be the next council member for District 2. She was impressive. She also enjoyed YMCA aqua aerobics classes, lunches with the Red Hats, and fellowship with her small faith community. Marie will be deeply missed. She was smart, funny, genuinely kind, and what we loved about her most was that she was outspoken and never at a loss for words. She was a fierce advocate for the less fortunate. She was a believer in housing our homeless, and in fact played a crucial role in supporting the development of the Blossom Valley Senior Apartments near Snell and Blossom Hill Road, which today houses over 100 low-income and formerly unhoused seniors. Her impacts in our District 2 and broader San Jose community will be felt for generations. Marie was preceded in death by her son Brian and is survived by her husband Paul and their 5 daughters, Karen, Barbara, Christine, Jennifer, and Janet, as well as her beloved grandchildren, son and daughter-in-laws, and the extended family. And Christine, her daughter, one of her daughters, is going to share a few words with us today.
Hello. On behalf of Marie's family, we wanted to thank Councilmember Jimenez and all of the City Council for this commendation for our mother. She loved the city of San Jose more than just about anything other than her family. As you mentioned, she was a registered nurse for over 46 years. She worked at O'Connor Hospital, she worked at Alexian Brothers, and most recently at Kaiser in Santa Clara and San Jose. And she loved being a nurse, and she loved being involved in civic duties here in the city of San Jose. But she loved the city itself. We would often have her birthday parties downtown at her request, where we would have lunch at the Fairmont and then go to the art museum for an exhibit. That was her birthday request. When she had her grandchildren in town, she would take them not only to the Tech Museum and the Children's Discovery Museum, but also this rotunda, which she thought was incredible. And her very favorite place to take her grandchildren was the Martin Luther King Library downtown. She loved it here. She, just this last Christmas, gave her great-grandchildren as their gift a membership to the Tech Museum so they can come to town as often as possible and do that. So this recognition from the City Council means so much to our family because the City of San Jose and her involvement meant so much to my mother. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And I would just end before I hand it back over to the mayor that my office is in the process of figuring out how we can affix her name to one of the senior community centers in the city, in South San Jose, and so we're working towards that. So just wanted to express my gratitude for the family for being here, and thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, council member, for that beautiful tribute. Thank you, Christine, Paul, the entire family for being here. We're very sorry for your loss, but appreciate the incredible role model Marie was for all of us. So thank you, and we wish you our very best. Thank you again, council member. We're going to move on to our closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have a report out of closed session today.
Thank you, Nora. We are on to the consent calendar. Are there any items the council would like to pull from consent? Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't need to pull it, but I just have a comment on item 2.6.
Go for it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I attended the Federated Retirement Board meeting last week, and they reported out their fiscal year 23-24 returns. I am happy to report the Federated pension returned a positive 9.71% in the last fiscal year, and the healthcare fund reported a 9.43 positive return. So happy to bring that report to council. And with that, I will move all of consent.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember Davis. Appreciate a little good news. That's wonderful to hear. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
No, we don't.
All right. Coming back to the council. Don't see any other hands. Why don't we vote?
I have one person who hasn't voted. I have the 2 absents. I'm going to go ahead and just end voting. We'll see who it is. Batra, are you voting yes on that?
Councilor Batra, would you like to register a vote on the consent calendar?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. We are on to item 3.1, report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report today.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. On to item 3.3, advancing racial equity through culture and practice, annual report. And I understand we have a staff presentation. We'll let the team come down to the box.
Okay, we're ready. Every year we look a little different, don't we? Good afternoon, Mayor Mahan, City Council members, and members of the public. My name is Sulma Maciel. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I'm the Director of the Office of Racial and Social Equity. I am joined by my colleagues, Andrea Aguiar, Racial Equity Manager, Jasmine Hartenstein, Inclusion and Belonging Manager, and Rania Mosen, Disability Affairs Manager. I forget that I have this. Okay, so we are here, this was a cross-reference from the PISFIS committee, and the memo before you is an annual report of the Office of Racial and Social Equity's work. It provides a review of the fiscal year 23-24 accomplishments and summarizes future efforts. As a strategic support partner to the city organization, the office aims to embed a racial equity practice and embody a culture that sustains it. The framework we use to advance the work is one adopted by over 300 government institutions across the country. And you've heard me talk about the framework before, but I'll say it again. The framework includes a normalized component, organize, and operationalize. The operational work plan outlined in the attachment to the memorandum delineates the objectives that outline that align with the framework as noted in this slide. It includes a set of strategies that will increase knowledge, skills, and the use of tools to apply racial equity analysis to various functions of the city organization. It also includes outward-facing strategies focused on community inclusion, belonging, and connection. I want to highlight that this past year we offered 15 trainings to reinforce equity concepts, where we had 420 participants. Of those that participated, 100% of them learned something new that they could apply to their work immediately. The sessions were also highly rated at 4.7 out of a possible 5 score. I'm also excited to share that we launched an online civics masterclass to increase civic and community participation in community life. The curriculum, co-written with Only in San Jose, a local nonprofit, was translated in Spanish and Vietnamese. And I want to thank you for the council members that have already shared the online civics masterclass. We have over 200 people who've completed the masterclass and have received their certificates. Some important enhancements that I want to share about the office's work and the role in the coming year are the following. I'm happy to share that the Disability Affairs portfolio will be integrated into the Office of Racial and Social Equity. It already has officially been integrated into the work plan. It simply makes sense to align and coordinate the work. Integration will facilitate an intersectional approach to disability and foster inclusion, belonging, and access for all people with disabilities. Second, I want to name that we have focused attention on gender equity. Gender equity is important in everything that we do in the city. This next year, we want to take a closer look at the Women's Bill of Rights that was adopted by the City Council in 2017 and consider in what ways we could implement the work with the understanding that we don't have additional resources, but that work has already commenced in several departments. This year, we initiated important partnerships with the IT department and colleagues in the city manager's office to better coordinate and leverage one another's expertise around performance management, data governance, and related skills. I am super enthusiastic about this shared work to see how we can best serve and support the city's organization to demonstrate improved outcomes for the people of San Jose. The final and most important piece is the commitment to the recently adopted Racial and Social Equity Ordinance and Equity Values and Standards Policy. These documents codify the promise of a just and equitable San Jose. It fortifies the importance of collective responsibility among elected officials, city administration, boards, and commissions to make decisions that further equity. While we in the Office of Racial and Social Equity team do our best to teach people how to do a critical analysis, at the end of the day, it's the small decisions that happen in conference rooms and the big decisions that happen here in the City Council chambers. All of this has a collective impact on the quality of life for San Jose residents. And finally, I'd like to extend my gratitude to our city leadership, beginning with City Manager Jennifer McGuire, department directors, equity practitioners, some who have joined us today, and of course, my deep gratitude to the extraordinary staff of the Office of Racial and Social Equity team, who effortlessly connect head and heart to carry out the work. And they're sitting right up here behind PD. I now respectfully request your approval of the Advancing Racial Equity Through Culture and Practice annual report, and the team and I are happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Zulma. Tony, do we have any public comment?
Not on this item.
All right. Thank you. Coming back to the council, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the report and all the work that you do. It is critically important, and I know it went to PISFIS, and I sit on that committee. And I think that I'm really pleased that you're moving in the sort of the right direction, and I know it takes time, and I know that departments are sort of in different places, and that's okay. You know, we have a whole spectrum of places where we are, but the fact that people are moving towards greater equity is something that I think is important for our city, and that we're making movement towards that is very positive. So thank you, and with that, I'd like to move the report.
Second. Thank you. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone in the box for their tireless work on this very important topic. I wanted to ask, and this has probably been asked before prior to me being on the council, but just wanted to ask anyway. Has the city ever conducted essentially like an audit to compare the salaries between genders within the city? Or has there been any consideration to carry out such an audit?
Councilmember Ortiz, I'm not aware of an audit to that has looked at salaries. It could be a question for HR, but we could look into that and get back to you.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember. It's a great question. We have a motion on the floor. I don't see any other hands up. Tony, let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. We are on to item 3.4, Janet Gray Hayes Rotunda naming. There's no staff presentation, but we will have members of Public Works and Office of Cultural Affairs in the box available for questions. Just before we go to public comment, I'll be brief, but just want to say how excited I am for this moment. Janet Gray Hayes was the city's 60th mayor, elected in 1974, 50 years ago. She was both the first woman elected to be mayor of San Jose, but also the first woman elected mayor of a major U.S. city, any city of over 500,000 residents, and was quite a leader. She was really ahead of her time, as you might expect. She drove our city into the modern era. She was ahead on urban planning, on gay rights, on environmentalism, on equal pay. Most of all, women in politics and greater inclusion and representation in government. She championed the Measure F campaign after setting up a commission that recommended district elections, which resulted in a majority of the council members on the city council being women, and broke up what, frankly, I think could be fairly described right before that time as a bit of a cabal on the council. I've heard about some of the news coverage at the time and some of the shenanigans, but she pushed local government to live up to our ideals of representation, of transparency, of governing in the public's interest, and is an incredible role model for all of us, and really was a leader who brought us much closer to our ideals. It was really her leadership and that of other women at the time that made San Jose and Santa Clara County the feminist capital of America, a title that we're proud of and want to continue to earn as a city that needs to continue to push the envelope on being inclusive and representative. So this is, I think, a great moment for our city, a long time coming, frankly overdue, and very excited to hear more from my colleagues on the council who joined in writing this memo. First, though, we're going to go to public comment, and I had the opportunity to meet Catherine Hayes, who I'd like to, if I can, Tony, just take the prerogative to ask Catherine to speak first on behalf of Mayor Hayes' family, and then we can get to our other public speakers, if that's okay. Catherine, do you want to come down and share your thoughts first, and then we'll continue on with public comment? And thank you for being here.
Hello.
Hi.
I just have to say that I've been in this audience many, many times, and it's really nice to see an equal diversity as opposed to one woman and all men. So this is really great for me to see. Congratulations. Again, my name is Catherine Hayes Rodriguez. I'm the third child. And on behalf of the Hayes family, we want to express our support for the naming of the rotunda. We feel it would be a fitting tribute to our mother, and that she would very much appreciate the honor of being named, having the rotunda named after her. It's kind of hard to believe that it's actually been 50 years since she was elected the mayor. And I remember walking precincts with my friends and hammering in lawn signs that said, make San Jose better before we make it bigger. I also would like to think that what is happening on national politics at this time, where there is actually a woman running for a highest office, might have had a little bit of a ripple effect of a humble housewife from San Jose being elected mayor to what we're seeing today. I'm very appreciative that you would consider naming the rotunda after her. And Councilman Ortiz, I believe that in her first tenure as mayor, she did a gender salary comparison. You might want to check into that, and found that it was not equal, apparently, in the early 80s. And I also was a little bit shocked when I saw my mom's gavel in the mayor's hand. And I just want to say, she always did say, speak softly but carry a big stick. So I hope that you bang it with great pride and think of my mother when you do that. Thanks very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Catherine. We really appreciate you being here. And your mother's gavel is proudly displayed in the mayor's office, as I know it has been by past mayors as well. Tony, can we continue with public comment?
Just first person on the microphone can come down and speak, and the others can line up behind. I have Gloria Chun-Hu, Margie Matthews, Tom McHenry, Barbara Kraus, and then I'll call more names after the last person speaks.
Mayor Mahan, members of the City Council, my name is Gloria Chun-Hu. I'm here representing Diane McNutt, the president of the League of Women Voters of San Jose, Santa Clara, and it is just thrilling for me to be here on behalf of the League. We like to say in the League that Janice Gray Hayes got her training with the League. She was the president of our local league in 1963 to 64, and then went on, as another member of the League will tell you, working for regional planning. She was such a forward-thinking woman. She inspires me, and I didn't have the pleasure of getting to know her moving later to San Jose, but people like Janet Gray must not be forgotten. It's time to name something, and the Rotunda would be a wonderful place for her name to be, so we can tell, as I think Zoe Lofgren said in the video that was done, for her daughter to know that there was a woman who could do this. Our young children and future generations must know the impact of Janet Gray. Thank you so much for considering this.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Margie Matthews, former council member, and I'm so happy that you're going to consider this and in fact do it. I want to introduce the woman, another mentor who I came with. Blanca Alvarado is sitting over there, another icon for the city and the county as a council member and supervisor. And Blanca was honored herself on Saturday night at the Mexican Heritage Cultural Center. So I'm just privileged to be in the presence of icons. It's particularly great this year, of course, because this is the year that we are on a very solid path to elect a woman as the highest elected leader in the world. So it's very fitting. It's not only the 50th anniversary. And this homage to Janet Gray Hayes is also respect and tribute to the few women who mentored her. There must have been a few. And the many, 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 many women who Janet Gray Hayes mentored or benefited from her tenure and her mentorship. So I thank you very much, and I look forward to the unveiling of the naming.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, hi, I'm Barbara Kraus, and I was Janet Gray's Chief of Staff. I want to read an excerpt from her speech for her re-election in 1978. She said, "I want to share with you all my pride in our great country. Etched on a gravestone in my hometown of Rushville, Indiana, are the words of Wendell Willkie, a 1940 presidential contender and the pride of our hometown. His words were always timely. Quote, I believe in America because in it we are free to choose our government, to speak our minds, to observe different religions. Because we are generous with our freedoms, we share our rights with those who disagree with us. Because we hate no people, because we have great dreams, and because we have the opportunity to make those dreams come true," unquote. As a schoolgirl reading those words many years ago, being the mayor of a major metropolitan city such as San Jose was beyond my dreams. I dreamed of being a doctor and making sick people well. I dreamed of being a concert cellist and making music people would enjoy. But I never dreamed of being mayor. It is with appreciation, pride, and enthusiasm that I accept the responsibilities of this office. I look forward to working with those of you at City Hall and those of you in the community. We have a tremendous job ahead of us. Let's get to it.
Thank you. Before the next speaker goes, I'd like to call down Sarah Jonigan, David Pandori, and Roma Dawson. Go ahead.
Hi, Tom McHenry. Mayor Matt, members of the council, thank you for bringing this forward. Matt, you introduced it excellently. I want to thank you for not putting us first on the agenda. I thought that the blessing, the immigrants who were establishing their businesses that we got to listen to, but most importantly, when they rattled off what Maria Arnold thought was most important to the city, I thought that was really worth coming all the way down here for. Obviously, what we're here for today is also very important to show you how different today is from those days when Janet Gray Hayes and I and others were in your positions. When she ran the second time, there was quite a to-do because there was a float put up that said, "Gays for Hayes." And many people thought that was a great assault on her. Today, we consider it an improper political donation in her favor. So times do indeed change. I like to study history, and in San Jose, it's very hard to find real key things that are remembered. So I always like to think, and we're all familiar with it for today's effort, when she went as a young mother and tried to get I don't know whether it was actually a stop sign. I think it was a little bit more of a significant thing at the Rose Garden across the Chase School. And she was greeted at the city council. I think you can guess the composition of most of that council. She was not given the most favorable treatment. I think you call that in history a very important and became chairman of the Planning Commission, council member, and mayor, as Matt said. I think it's pretty important that we remember her. Most of us, since I used to have a job similar to yours, Matt, would not have had success if she had not preceded us. I also have been asked many times about the old council I was on, because as David Pandori reminded me, you're one of the few people that was on the old city council as well as the district city council. He said, could you explain kind of the difference, and I said, a world of difference that I'd like not to revisit the earlier group, but I'd like to talk about the majority of women who sat on both councils in my terms as mayor. And it was a good period of time for the city, largely following back again to what Janet Gray Hayes did in fighting for districting with many other supporters, and also changing things in San Jose, like simple things like letting the citizens of San Jose participate in a general plan so they could determine what kind of city we had. So Janet Gray Hayes is a very important person to remember, and thank you all for considering this today.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mayor Mahan and City Council members, excuse me. I am Sarah Janigan. I was a student in political science at San Jose State and a member of the National Women's Political Caucus, and later went on to be president of the National Women's Political Caucus in the mid-70s. I'm old. Janet Gray and her legacy is unprecedented. She, at the time, was the first female mayor of a major metropolitan city in the country. It brought a lot of recognition to San Jose. It dubbed San Jose the feminist capital of the world. There were many women engaged at all levels of government, and a lot of it was because of her leadership and her tenacity to just get everybody involved. She was a leader, a role model, and a mentor to several generations of women who later went on to elected office or to serve in other governmental capacities. And it opened up government in ways that had never been opened up before. So this recognition is long overdue. We have a video, and I don't know if it's going to be shown, but one of the things that's said in the video is that it's not only long overdue, there should be many recognitions of Janet Gray Hayes in the city and for the legacy that she leaves us all. So I hope you all get to see the video, and thank you for your support of this effort.
Thank you, and I'll just interject. I was just told that we actually do have the video, so we'll complete public comment, and then we'll go ahead and play that video.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Honorable Mayor and members of the council, my name's David Pandori. With today's historic vote, you honor a person because of the legacy she left. A better city for all its residents, including the poorest. A government open to new voices, and a government that was open and honest. Naming the rotunda in honor of Janet Gray Hayes will inspire that legacy to continue, for it's a shared legacy, one that each of you proudly continue to champion today. A city better for all, we call that equity. A city open to all, we call that inclusivity and diversity. And a city government plain to all, we call that transparency. Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Thank you, Councilmember Foley, Mayor Mahan, and Madam Vice Mayor Rosemary Kamei for honoring our first Madam Mayor, Janet Gray Hayes, and the legacy that you share with her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Roma Dawson. I'm lucky enough right now to be a co-president of the League of Women Voters Bay Area. I first met Janet Gray in 1982, which led to meeting another rather outspoken council member at the time named Tom McHenry, and it changed my life forever, for the better. And I just have to share with you, in that role with League of Women Voters Bay Area, I was asked to sign on to the ill-fated regional measure 4. Well, have a moment of silence here. And when I did, I swear to heaven above that I felt Janet Gray smiling down at me saying, "You go, girl. You polled well. You polled better than everybody else, and that's why you're #1. And keep putting San Jose on the map." And there's this popular saying now, you didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. We all, and all of you, stand on the shoulders of giants. And Janet Gray opened the door to people like Mayor Susan Hammer and the living legend, Blanca Alvarado, then Vice Mayor, who started something called Project Diversity. And my friends, well, I hope I can call you my friends, it changed the look of San Jose, the way city government looks, the way city employees look, for the better forever. And we're all indebted to her. And I love naming the rotunda because I've done school tours and the kids love it. And now all those little girls and little boys are going to say, Janet Gray Hayes, who's that? What did she do? And thank you so much.
Back to council.
Thank you all so much for sharing your stories and perspective. And thank you, Supervisor Alvarado, for taking the time to be here. And I know we'll hear from Supervisor Alvarado in the video, which I'm hoping we can play before I turn to my colleagues.
I thought about Janet Gray Hayes a lot. I think you can arguably say that she was perhaps the most influential mayor in San Jose history.
I remember when Janet Gray Hayes was first elected mayor of San Jose. We walked precincts for Janet Gray, and we were so thrilled when she was elected as the first woman mayor. Breaking an important glass ceiling.
Mayor Janet Gray Hayes ushered in an era of significant political reform.
We wouldn't be the city we are now if it weren't for Janet Gray Hayes.
In 1980, the city council was elected by 10 districts. 7 neighborhood activist women were elected, including 2 women of color, Iola Williams and me. For the first time, every inch of the city had a vote. Every inch of the city had an equal voice at the table of government. And Janet Gray Hayes was such a force for equality. She constantly mentored and gave leadership to those of us who were new to the levers of power.
She was a beacon, really, a symbol to many of us women in the neighborhoods who could read the paper in the morning, as I did avidly every morning, and read about this woman who was so active in San Jose politics and even became our mayor.
Janet Gray Hayes was the mayor of San Jose when I joined the National Women's Political Caucus. It was an exciting time to be involved in politics and community engagement. Working with her colleague Susie Wilson on the city council, she encouraged women to run for office. She was instrumental in appointing Iola Williams as the first African-American member of the city council, and she encouraged Susan Hammer to run for office. San Jose was dubbed the feminist capital of the world, with Janet Gray Hayes leading the way.
Her core values underscored solidarity, inclusivity, dignity, and respect for all. But she was always proactively seeking for those of us from the fringes, from the outside, to be part of the structure, to be part of the movement, to be part of what was happening in San Jose.
I think that Janet Gray Hayes led the way in so many ways by making sure that women were considered by the voting public as worthy of their trust. So there's a long legacy from Janet Gray Hayes that we should all be grateful for. Years later, when it was my turn to run for office, she stepped in and helped me. She supported me. She took me to lunch. She invited me to her house. She gave me advice. She gave me confidence, and she did that to many, many women. And she passed that along to her greatest mentee, who was Susan Hammer, who eventually ran for city council and mayor herself.
You know, her quote, "Let's make San Jose better before we make it bigger." It's really eclipsed all the other explanations by saying she wanted San Jose to be a better place. And when the general plan was adopted, the first general plan, it really took power out of the hands of people at City Hall and a lot of people outside of City Hall who shouldn't have had the power, and put it in the hands of people to make their decisions.
Janet Gray Hayes encouraged previously unheard voices to influence the discussions that took place that resulted in the allocation of resources and develop policies that were a benefit to people that had long been overlooked.
Janet Gray in particular was someone who charted new courses for the city, making sure that the environment was first and foremost for the city, not just allowing willy-nilly growth, and making sure that every segment of our community was heard.
The Fearsome Foursome was a group of 4 council members that essentially made decisions outside of the public eye, with special interests very heavily involved, and it led to a lot of bad decisions and a very unsavory period, a very corrupt period in San Jose history. Yeah, her re-election was, I think, summarized by the signs she put up at the end of the election period. It said one thing, honest, and then it said we have one choice. Her election changed things dramatically.
Mom didn't get involved because she wanted to be famous or important. She wanted to get things done. It all started with a stoplight. Mom was pregnant with my youngest sister, Megan. My brother John and I were walking to and from elementary school every day. The last intersection we had to cross was a dangerous one. Now, Mom thought a stoplight would be a better idea. Children could cross the street safely. She found that when she advocated in front of the city council, there was strength in numbers. So Mom joined with other people and organizations to get things done. 18 years later, Megan went to college, Mom was mayor, and that stoplight finally went in.
One of my mom's favorite stories from her time as mayor of San Jose was shortly after her election. She attended a U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting. She entered a room with other big city mayors from across the country and sat down at a large conference table that was populated by all men. As she sat down, the mayor next to her turned and said to her, "Oh, whose secretary are you, dearie?" I'm sure my mom proudly put out her hand and introduced herself as the mayor of San Jose, California.
I look at my daughter who grew up in a city that had a female mayor as part of its history, and I hope that's not unique. I hope that all the little girls growing up in San Jose and Santa Clara County realize that they can have a future in public life if that is something they choose. Nothing has ever recognized Mayor Janet Gray Hayes, and that's a mistake.
I think naming the rotunda at City Hall after Janet Gray Hayes would be fitting and appropriate. And I like the entrance because she really was the person, again, who opened up City Hall.
I absolutely think it's a good idea to name the rotunda in Janet Gray's honor. It's well-deserved. It's a long time in coming. She was instrumental in just a movement in San Jose that not only forwarded women, but also forwarded diversity in our city council and reached out to many more members of our community.
I certainly support naming the rotunda in her honor. It's a beautiful building. The rotunda is a symbol of our city, and Janet Gray Hayes, too, is a symbol of our city.
And so naming the rotunda is an absolute necessity.
It's time.
It's time to honor Janet Gray Hayes.
It's time, and it's long overdue.
I think it's time to rename the rotunda in City Hall after Janet Gray Hayes. Actually, we should do more, but that's a good first step to recognizing the tremendous role that Janet Gray Hayes played in the city of San Jose the county of Santa Clara, the state of California, and indeed the whole country.
Yeah, it's a really well-done video. Thank you for giving us all the opportunity to watch it here in our public meeting. So from Janet, I'm just going to pull up my screen here. From Janet Gray to Supervisor Blanca Alvarado, on to Margie Matthews and Zoe Lofgren and so many others, and now my colleagues, the incredible women who serve on our city council. I'm pleased to hand things over to Councilmember Dev Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everyone who came to speak in support of this item today, Mayor Tom McHenry and others, as well as Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren and Supervisor Cindy Chavez, who wrote in support. I also want to thank you, Supervisor Alvarado, for your mentorship, your leadership, and all you've done for our community. Thank you. I also want to thank the Hayes family, David Pandori, Barbara Kraus, Sarah Janigan, Gloria Chung-Hu, and Margie Matthews, as well as the League of Women Voters, for your advocacy for this item. It is past due for sure. It has been almost exactly 50 years since Janet Gray Hayes was elected mayor. She was actually elected on November 5th, 1974, and that is election day this year, which David reminded me this afternoon. We've already heard this story about Janet Gray advocating for that traffic signal, which did get put in so that her kids and all children and their families could get to school safely. That was at Dana and Nagley, so that's in my district. And actually, the more things change, the more they stay the same. During my tenure, I got that signal replaced so that we could have a left turn signal and protect pedestrians and continue to protect those trying to get to school safely. So, as many have said before, that recognition is definitely past due, and I'm glad that we can, well, I'm hopeful today that we can finally get this done. I haven't heard any opposition so far. So with that, I will move the direction from my rules memo and the memo from the mayor, the Madam Vice Mayor, Councilmember Foley, and myself. And I want to give just a little bit of additional direction. I know that I've spoken with Public Works. And so for the architectural, the memorial plaque, and any other decisions for the rotunda naming, to do that in coordination with my office, and we'll coordinate with the family of Janet Gray. And then for the photographic exhibition of the neighborhoods and a plaque commemorating the 50th anniversary of the creation of district elections inside the rotunda. Please do that in coordination with the Office of Cultural Affairs and Vice Mayor Kamei's office.
Second.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councilor Davis. Appreciate that. Now over to Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much, and I too would like to thank everyone for coming out and sharing their stories with us about Janet Gray. And I'd like to recognize Supervisor Alvarado, because I think that the entire sort of movement of what is happening today is really because of you, and because of the women who were on the council, Margie and others, who really helped move this forward. So today we are better because of you. So thank you so much.
And Supervisor, would you like to say a few words? Well, we were hoping you would, so I'm glad you're making your way over. Please do. We're honored to have you here today.
It's really, it's a pleasure to be in these chambers, very different from when I served on the city council. You live in much more luxurious surroundings. And also, by the way, when we first started on the city council, believe it or not, $400 a month was what we were earning. That was really poverty wages, as you can well imagine. But the thing that I really want to say are two things. Janet Gray Hayes, in her zeal for inclusivity, appointed me to the Bicentennial Commission as we were getting ready to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the founding of the Pueblo. And then she appointed me to the Charter Review Committee. And so I take those two experiences as the door opening for me when I chose to run for the city council. But I would have never have done that if I had not been instructed during that entire year-long process about different forms of government throughout the country. It was having reviewed so many options and so many concepts that I got a lesson in civic learning that I'm grateful to Janet Gray Hayes for as well. But I could spend hours here talking about our time, and except for one final thing, Tom McHenry was mayor when he and I went out to the east side to take a look at some terrains for the purpose of establishing a Mexican garden. As it turned out, we went far beyond a garden. Under the leadership of Susan Hammer, we developed the beautiful Mexican Heritage Project, and today it is a symbol of diversity that was funded by the Redevelopment Agency and supported by the entire City Council. I think, finally, to say that the women on the council and the males that were on the council at that time were the ones that opened the door for one of the best projects that we have in San Jose. Thank you for asking me to speak. I couldn't resist. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. She touched so many people, but especially women. And I was really privileged to know her and her husband, Dr. Ken Hayes. And, you know, I was elected to the Santa Clara Valley Water District Board. I was the first woman elected back in 1994. And it was really her encouragement, you gotta run, you gotta try, you gotta try. And she was persistent. And I was very successful. I was there for 17 years. But she changed the lives of many, many, many people. And, you know, I think that her motto of let's make San Jose better before we make it bigger is something that we could still do today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And thank you, Supervisor. We'll go over now to Councilmember Foley.
Rounding out the women, as I feel the women need to be the first ones speaking on the issue up here on the dais. Thank you for all the words that you've said to us today and for the organizing committee to come out and meet with me back in July. And for politics to move so quickly shows how important this issue is. And I know 50 years isn't that quickly, but we just met in July. So here we are in mid-August, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get a unanimous support, but can't be sure of that till we all vote, but I'm pretty sure that this is one of those issues that we will all be aligned on. I want to thank you all for your words and reminding us of Janet Gray Hayes, and as a woman coming up in government and running a business, it's hard for a woman to get started. It's hard for a woman to get supported. But and I hate to say this, and I'm going to say this, women, it does take men helping you to elevate you and hold your hand, because sometimes the men are there to help you in the other areas where femininity doesn't really get you very far. I said that in the wrong way, and I'm going to be quoted in a really bad way, I know, but oh well. I'm sitting here pondering what I'm going to say, and I can't say anything more than what you've already told us about being the feminist capital of the world, although I will mention that we are losing one of our female council members as she turns out this year. That leaves us with 2, so we need to get more women elected. But I am as sitting here thinking, what can I say that is any different than what has already been said about Janet Gray? And I really can't, but I will make an observation. We named 2 buildings after men, very important men, while they were still alive, and one of them still is, and that is Diridon Station, and the other is Mineta Airport. Not to say that either of them had less impact on this city or country than Janet Gray Hayes. But why the heck did it take us 50 years to finally have a building that we could name after her? So I'm a little embarrassed we waited so long for this, because we did it for others. Why did it take us till now? I'm just saying. So,
and council member, let's note we also have the McHenry Convention Center as well.
Well, see, and he's sitting right here, the McHenry Convention
We'll throw
Center.
Tom under the bus while he's here. Why not?
Thank you for adding fuel to my statement. It's just, we look past these women of such impact and importance, and not that, Mayor McHenry, you did not have a tremendous impact. Of course you did, as did the other gentleman that I talked about. But so did Janet Gray. I loved the phrase gays for Hayes. And on Pride Day, what a great way to start off a recognition for her. Her inclusivity, everything, the districts, everything she has done to bring this city together and give a voice to all the reaches of the city of San Jose is tremendous. So I'm more than happy to support this in any way, shape, or form that I can. I'm so excited that we could finally get this done. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, council member. All right. Now on to the other men on the council. Councilmember, glad we heard from the women first. Councilmember Candelas.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to keep my comments fairly brief. I want to first of all, thank everybody who came out to share your words today. It's truly impactful, and it speaks to the impact that a legend like Mayor Janet Gray Hayes had on our city and on us as some of the newer leaders here in our city, and doesn't give us less impact. I also want to thank my colleagues, Councilwoman Davis and Foley and Vice Mayor Kamei and the mayor for bringing this forward and having the opportunity to vote on this. This is absolutely something that's long overdue, and I won't say too much that hasn't already been said. I did get a letter from former District 8 Councilwoman or Vice Mayor Patricia Saucedo, who I deeply honor and appreciate, who couldn't unfortunately be here this afternoon because she had previous travel arrangement, but to quote, she worked tirelessly to improve the city for all San Jose residents, encouraged women to secure elective office, and ensured strong neighborhood representation via district elections. It was through Mayor Hayes' vision and commitment that San Jose's 1980 district election secured the election of 5 women to the San Jose City Council, establishing the first female majority council for San Jose, including Lou Ryden, District 1, West Valley, Shirley Lewis, District 4, Berryessa, Blanca Alvarado, who is here this afternoon, Nancy Lani in District 6 in Willow Glen, and of course, Patricia Saucedo in Evergreen. And it's time to recognize Mayor Hayes for her hard work and dedication for the city that she loved to call home. So I think former Vice Mayor Patricia Saucedo said it well, so I'm taking from her. And Mayor Janet Gray Hayes definitely served as a role model and pioneer for women in leadership position, and I look forward to supporting the motion on the floor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Candelas. Councilmember Batra.
I'm really grateful to the people who have come here today and told us the story and experiences of having worked with the legend, because we can watch these things on the YouTube and all that, but hearing it in person is a totally different experience of life, and I'm grateful to all of you. I do want to say that Council Member Foley, we mentioned about three men names who are alive and the buildings are named after them. In your rest of the council time, you have to find at least 3 women that we can name the buildings after them. Okay, so we'll make a formal motion one of these days for you to be assigned that piece of work. I do want to make an observation that Janet Gray Hayes broke any kind of glass ceilings, if any existed at that time. It is very fitting that her name is going to go on an all-glass building, okay, which will not have that kind of a ceiling to be a barrier to any of the people trying to aspire to do the work which she did. So thank you very much. I'll be supporting the motion to have her name appear as Councilmember Davis says.
Thank you, Councilmember Batra. Councilmember Dewan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for all those who have come here in support. Thank you to Blanco Alvarado for your leadership and help the women to excel and exceed in our community. Janet Gray Hayes made history, and today will be a historical, momentous moment when we rename the rotunda after Janet Gray Hayes. And, all of us are extremely grateful that we exist here on this earth because we all have a mother and she's a woman. And we always need to respect, protect, and be grateful for all their contribution unto our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Well, with all that, and thank you again to everyone who has worked very hard to protect and preserve and celebrate Mayor Janet Gray Hayes' legacy. Thank you for being here today. The video is incredible. I'm excited to show it to my daughter and son, but especially my daughter, and really look forward to naming our rotunda after Mayor Hayes. So with that, I think we're ready to vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, we will coordinate with Councilmember Davis and other colleagues and see you all back for the unveiling of the naming. Okay, thanks everybody. We are on to item 4.1, and as I understand it, we will hear items 4.1 and 4.2 together, and then we will ask for separate motions and votes on those two items. So 4.1 is the request for additional quantities of pre-approved specified military equipment. We have a short presentation from the chief, and then we have our annual report on military equipment, which is item 4.2. So Chief, whenever you're ready, feel free to jump in.
Mayor, actually the bulk of the presentation will be done by Acting Special Operations Division Captain Mike O'Neill, and I'm also joined by R&D Lieutenant Paul Hamlin.
Great, welcome to you both.
Members of council, thank you very much for having me today. As Acting Chief Joseph said, my name is Lieutenant Mike O'Neill. I'm the acting captain of our Special Operations Division. Today we will be discussing and I'll be presenting the military equipment annual report. And as you mentioned, it will be placed in two sections, the annual report, as well as the request for authorization for future purchases. To go into the history of this, this is a requirement from Assembly Bill 481, which was signed by the governor on September 30th, 2021. The purpose was to increase transparency and oversight in the funding, acquisition, and use of military equipment by law enforcement agencies. This requires law enforcement agencies possessing such equipment to have policies and supporting information available to the public, in addition to have approval from the governing body of either the city or county municipalities. It also requires an annual report that we're presenting today, as well as a public meeting that occurs 30 days post posting of the memorandum provided by council, or to council. In this presentation, there will be 12 separate categories, and we'll go through them one by one. Category 1 for the military equipment is unmanned, remotely piloted, powered aerial or ground vehicles. Currently, the department has 32 of these devices with an annual cost of $15,000. We have approximately 442 deployments, which would include training, live operations, as well as public demonstrations to our citizens. Category 2 is the mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles, also known as MRAPs. Currently, the department has one of these vehicles with an annual cost of $6,500 per year. As of 2023, we've had 3 deployments of that vehicle. Category 3 includes high mobility, multi-purpose wheeled vehicles, commonly referred to as Humvees, 2 and 1 ton half trucks, 5 ton trucks, or wheeled vehicles that have breaching apparatus attached. The department has 3 of these vehicles with the annual cost of $19,500, and we have approximately 30 deployments this year, or for 2023. Category 4 is tracked armored vehicles that provide ballistic protection to their occupants and utilize a track system instead of wheels for forward motion. The department does not have any of these type of vehicles currently in our inventory. Category 5 is command and control vehicles that are either built or modified to facilitate the operation and control and direction of public safety units. The department has 6 of these vehicles with an annual cost of $18,120, and we had 48 deployments in 2023. Category 6 is weaponized aircraft, vessels, or vehicles of any kind. The department does not have any of these type of vehicles in our inventory. Category 7 is battering rams, slugs, breaching apparatuses that are explosive in nature. Various dimensions and numbers with an annual cost of $6,262. We have 3 deployments as of 2023. Category 8 and 9 are firearms and ammunition of a caliber greater than 50 cal, and excluding shotguns, and we do not currently have any of these type of devices in our inventory. Category 10 are specialized firearms and ammunition of less than 50 caliber, including assault weapons as defined by Penal Code Section 3510 and 3515. Currently, the department has 439 of these firearms. An annual cost of firearms and ammunition are $345,134. We had no deployments of 2023 for the use of these weapons. Category 11, any firearm or firearm accessory that is designed to launch explosive projectiles. We have 8 of these type of firearms, an annual cost of $400, and we've had 3 deployments. And for clarification for council, these are our devices we use to deploy chemical agent during critical incidents. Category 12 are noise flash diversionary devices, commonly referred to as flashbang grenades, and explosive breaching tools, tear gas, pepper balls, excluding standard service issued pepper spray. We have 1,336 pieces of this equipment with an annual cost of $31,300. And as of 2023, we had 27 deployments of these type of equipment. Category 13 is a taser shockwave, microwave weapons, water cannons, and long-range acoustical device, commonly known as LRADs. We have 7 LRADs in our current inventory with an annual cost of $5,000. We had 13 deployments of an LRAD in 2023. Category 14 is projectile platforms and their associated munitions, including 40mm projectile launchers, stun bags, rubber bullets, and specially impact munitions, SIM weapons, that are utilized for training. We have 256 of these launchers, 3,356 munitions, with an annual cost of $23,450. We've had 16 deployments in 2023 of these type of equipment. This equipment is necessary as there is no alternative that can achieve the same objective to allow officer safety as well as safety of our community members. Reasonably cost-effective compared to the available alternatives that can achieve the same objective or of officer safety and community safety. The military equipment shall only be used by department members that had training, including a course required by the Commission of Peace Officers Standards and Training, and has completed, and they've completed that training, and unless there's exigent circumstances. The estimated cost of possessing and acquiring military equipment is approximately $500,000, and this includes ongoing purchasing costs, maintenance of the existing equipment, as well as ongoing purchases of ammunition and additional equipment. As of 2023, I'm proud to say that our department received 0 complaints in the use of these type of munitions or military equipment. In addition, we had 0 violations of the government code and 0 internal investigations for the use of this equipment. We create a log for all use of this equipment to log and to present to you. And as of 2023, we had 142 deployments for police activity, which was 69%. Training includes 56 deployments, or 27%, and the last was 7 or 4% for community events. And that would include National Night Out, Touch a Truck for our community members, school presentations, cops care for the cancer children at the airport, and such as those type of things. Our UAV flights, or the drones, we've had 442 flights in 2023, 315 or 79% were for police activity. 91 or 21% were for qualification flights, and those have increased because we've grown the UAV program and we're trying to get more officers trained to use those type of UAVs. The military equipment purchase of 2023, November 2023, we purchased 3 UASs for our Internet Crimes Against Children for a total cost of $11,894.55. In November 23, 1 UAS was purchased for our community service officers, and that totaled $3,921.28. In December 2023, we acquired 9 short barrel rifles for our traffic enforcement unit so they could respond to critical incidents on their motorcycles. That totaled $4,620.40. And lastly, in December 2023, 1 Brink Lemur UAV for the bomb squad was purchased for $8,999 with a $100 annual cost. The total for 2023 was $39,522.70. In addition to this, we also are participating in the Law Enforcement Support Office program, also commonly referred to as the 1033 program. This is a program that allows military surplus to be redistributed to local law enforcement agencies for use. Recently, we have not purchased or procured anything from the 1033 LESO program. Lastly, looking towards what we're requesting to purchase in the future is 125 Aero Precision rifles. Those are going to replace the firearms that were issued to our patrol officers that are met their service life, and we don't have the necessary parts to replace them because they don't make them anymore. In addition, 5 Skydio aerial UASs for a total of $16,400, a total of $82,000. A Remote Tech Andros bomb robot. This is a total of $78,500. This would be a device utilized to combat any type of destructive device for our bomb squad. The Accuracy International rifles, we have 8 of those for $9,702 with a total of $77,616. Those are replacing items that from our department that have no longer or have met their service life, and we're replacing them. The Genesis 100X LRAD, we're requesting 4 of those at a total of $11,942 with a total of $47,768. As I explained before, the LRADs are the acoustic devices that I'm sure some of the council remember that we used for when the storms were hitting, and we were letting the folks know that the storms were coming out. The ATEL Evo Max 4.2, that's another UAS. We're requesting 2 of those. They're $8,900 each with a total of $17,800. An ATEL Evo 2 dual UAS, there's a request for 3 of those. Each of those are $5,200 with a total of $15,600. The Noveski rifles, there's 4 of those. Those are $3,730 with a total of $15,353. Those also are items that we have in the inventory, but we're going to have to get new ones because they've left their life expectancy. They're just breaking down on us. We are requesting 3 ATEL 6K UASs. Each are $3,100 for a total of $9,300. The DJI Avata UAS are small drones that are able to be used in cramped spaces. Those are requesting 4 of those, $1,100 each for a total of $4,400. And lastly, the ATEL Evo 2 6K for a different unit within the department. They're requesting 2 of those UASs. They're $1,800 each for a total of $3,600. The total for all that equipment is $463,069. Lastly, on the last slide you'll see within the packet is our policy and equipment policy. This allows us to be in compliance with Government Code Section 770 through 773, as the department intends to keep and track all the information in regards to this military equipment and allow it for public consumption, so we're fully transparent. In addition, any concerns can be registered through our Department of Internal Affairs or the Office of the Independent Police Auditor. And the outcomes of the processes or complaints would be publicly noted. That's the total of the presentation I have for you, and I'd be more than happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you for the comprehensive report and the transparency, not just in this report, but via the website and what appears from the report to be judicious use of these and very strategic use of these tools. I know we and the public really appreciate that. Tony, do we have any public comment?
There are no cards.
Okay, so we'll come back to the council then. See if a couple colleagues have hands up. Let's go to Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to staff and Acting Chief Joseph for this report. The requests all seem very straightforward and reasonable to me. I just have some questions just for public record. So first one, for the drones to be issued to community service officers, how do you envision them to be used?
So currently there are community service officers who are drone pilots. In order to fly a drone, you have to actually get an FAA license, and we like to have as many pilots as we can on duty at any given time. We would prefer that they be sworn officers, but if rather than have a drone sit at the police station and not be deployed, if there's a CSO that has the FAA pilot's license, we'll put the drone with that CSO and then they can operate it.
Okay, thank you. And then, so this is the first time I've heard of the drone as a first responder program. What kind of calls do you envision a drone responding to?
So currently we don't have what's classically known as a drone as first responder program. That is where a drone is remotely located and it doesn't have to be flown line of sight with the operator. And we don't yet have that capability. I think that's something that we're looking into. It's harder for a large city like ours, but it's definitely a road we would like to explore. The drones that we have right now are flown line of sight, and Mike, please correct me if I'm mistaken on any of this. And so they have to be deployed by an operator who is there at the scene. And we use them for a variety of events. We use them to map crime scenes or traffic collision investigations. We use them whenever we have a suspect that we believe is hidden in a location, and rather than putting an officer into a backyard, let's say, to search, under furniture and things like that, we can put the drone in and hopefully create some distance between ourselves and the suspect and reduce the chance of a deadly force confrontation.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Sounds like we're not in the time of RoboCop yet, so good to know. And then also, I know the use of crowd control functions of LRADs or LRADs has been controversial, and there is a history of police departments being successfully sued over the sonic injury. Do we have a policy in place so the offensive capabilities of those devices are treated with proper restraint at events?
We do, and honestly, the deployments of our LRADs haven't been for crowd control purposes. They've been primarily twofold. Either, as the captain mentioned, in flood control situations, trying to get notification out to people that they might be in an area of danger, an area that's difficult and unsafe to access, to get them out. Or if we have a barricaded suspect and we want to ensure that our notifications to that suspect can be heard, that's when we have used the LRADs. But we do have a policy as it regards crowd control as well.
Great, just want to make sure. And then finally, turning to 4.2 on page 4, it says there were, and I may be reading this wrong, but it says that there were 205 entries in the military equipment log. And then on page 5, it says the department logged 442 UAV flights in 2023. However, on the equipment matrix, it says Category 1 equipment was deployed 897 times in the year. Any idea what accounts for the difference?
I'm going to defer to Lieutenant Hamblin on this.
There are two different logs. We don't log the UAV flights with the other deployments.
I see. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and those are my questions.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Batra?
Thank you very much for that comprehensive and detailed report, reporting each element up to with the cents, not only just the dollars rounded off. And I think with that usage of the log and this level of detail gives the confidence to the community that the usage is proper and it is for the safety of our officers and the community. And hence, we are able to approve any of the requests which you make. I do want to ask a question on, if I read it correctly, on Category 10, you had an expenditure of $345,000, but the deployment was zero. Is that correct?
So by deployment, we don't mean use, but we mean the weapons weren't fired.
I see.
But they were definitely deployed. They were definitely used on a regular basis.
Okay, all right. Because when I was looking at each one of them, it said that Category 10 item, $345,000, annual cost, deployment zero. Okay, so
Deployment perhaps was not the most appropriate word to use to describe what we're trying to convey here. We did not fire those weapons at anybody, but they were definitely used on a regular basis.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, so that clarifies my point, and as usual, I've been supportive of you having this equipment for the safety of the officers and the safety of the community. So I would certainly be voting in support of this for every one of your items over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Jimenez.
Yeah, thank you. My question was sort of answered. I guess I had something similar to Councilmember Batra, and that is, say, for example, Category 11, Category 12, and I don't think I understood it completely, but for example, category 11 is the firearm accessory that is designed to launch explosive projectiles, 8 firearms with attachments, and then 12, for example, is a flashbang grenade. So help me understand what deployment means in those circumstances.
Sure. So deployment here means on 3 separate occasions we deployed gas on a barricaded suspect from those launchers. So they were actually fired. We did use them for their intended purpose. And same with the flashbangs. Deployment means we use them during an operation.
Okay. Well, maybe let me dig a little deeper. So when you say use them during an operation, did you actually, like, they were sent off? So it says 27 deployments. So 27 occasions, those were, they exploded and released whatever gas they release.
That's correct, Council Member. So just to clarify for, Category 11, essentially, if you could look at it as those devices are a blank, and it allows the chemical munition to be shot at distance to deploy chemical agent for a barricaded suspect. So we don't have to put officers into the house to retrieve the suspects that are barricading themselves. Yeah. So in 2023, we had 3 what we would refer to as a call out that we deployed chemical agent, and we utilized that type of equipment.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes sense to me. Okay. It's reasonable. I think we would prefer that you all approach it that way, right? Because obviously these are dangerous situations. So just to further sort of help me understand, so Category 10 military equipment, specialized firearm, munition, that's what the one with the $345,000 cost. So that one didn't have a deployment, right? That's 0, which I think.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I apologize that I will change that. This is my, all fairness, is my first time presenting this.
No problem.
I think you're correct, and I will change that on the slide because it is a little bit confusing.
What would you call it if it wasn't deployed? Would you give it
I would probably refer to it as maybe use or something to that nature, and I will speak to the chief as well as Lieutenant Hamblin, and I will correct that for the next time.
So for example, if this particular weapon that's on the screen, right, this gets, and I understand criminals have a host of these things, right, so it's important that you all have the necessary equipment necessary to defend yourselves and all these different situations I'm sure that we can't even imagine. But in this situation, this is only certain units carry this weapon, I assume, right? This isn't in every police car, obviously, because there's only 40.
Actually, while these things are referred to as military equipment, this is what they've been designated by the state legislature. This is standard law enforcement equipment that every police department across the country uses. Typically for something other than a handgun, for what we would refer to as a long gun, historically police departments have used shotguns. Shotguns are not as accurate, they're not as effective as these, and actually the shotguns that our inventory consists of, the Remington 870s, that company went out of business. We can no longer purchase the parts to fix them, and every piece of equipment has a useful life, and as those shotguns are worn out and no longer useful anymore, we're transitioning to something that we think is a better weapon system, and by better I mean more accurate, more obviously we hope to never use any of these, but if we're going to have to use deadly force, we want to be as accurate as possible.
And you want to make sure it's functioning properly, it's a good weapon, all that, right?
Absolutely. And most police departments and sheriff's departments across the country are transitioning away from shotguns to carbines, as are we.
Okay, all right. And so, for example, this particular weapon, not every officer carries this, right?
No, only officers who've received special training, who qualify on a regular basis, those are the only ones that carry this weapon system.
Okay, and so there could be an officer who's received that training that's in their vehicle that has this, say, in the trunk or whatever, ready to use in case it's needed?
Correct.
Okay, and so going back to the word deployment, I know maybe we're going to use something else, but as an example, let's just say next year's report, you bring this forward. If there was an incident where an officer had to go to his trunk and pop this out and get it out, would you consider that one use, right? Or not unless it's fired, is it considered?
I don't think we're tracking every time an officer brings out the carbine. Okay. That would be a lot of data collection.
Yeah, no,
I
and
don't
I'm
know
not
that it's-
suggesting that. I'm just
yeah.
trying to understand sort of.
What we will do next year, I promise you, council member, is have wording that's a little less confusing on this topic. But we're not tracking. It'd be like tracking every time an officer unholsters a pistol. I don't think we're not.
Yeah.
We're not currently tracking that.
That makes sense to me. All right, and I won't be here, so you can present it to the rest of the folks. But thank you so much for the information. Obviously necessary stuff, and just curious about some of the language. But thank you for the presentation. And I'll move approval.
I was going to say, thanks for the questions, council member. And would you move approval on
both?
4 point? Let's take them separately if
Yeah,
we can.
I'll move approval on 4.1.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And Tony, why don't we vote on 4.1?
And I'll move approval on 4.2.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. And
Motion passes unanimously with Davis absent.
okay. And then we had a motion and a second on 4.2. So we're ready to vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Davis absent.
Great. Thanks, Tony. Thank you all. Appreciate it. All right. We're on to our final agendized item, item 7.1, service delivery evaluation and public-private competition analysis for the Lake Cunningham Action Sports Park. All right. And John, I don't have it in my notes, but I believe there's a staff presentation. So
Good afternoon, Mayor. John Cicerelli, Director of Parks, Recreation, Neighborhood Services. We do not have a presentation. We're available for questions.
Available. Got it. That's perfect. Thank you. Hopefully everybody has read the report. Why don't we go to public comment first?
I have Krista De La Torre and John Tucker. Please come on down to the microphone.
Hello, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Krista De La Torre, and I am a representative with IFPT Local 21. It's kind of obvious by my shirt, I guess. I'm here today to voice my concerns regarding the Council District 8 memo that urges for the privatization of Lake Cunningham Action Sports Park. When we allow public services to be privatized without conditions, not only do we risk eliminating good-paying union jobs, we open the door to third-party vendors, increasing costs down the line for our community, making park access affordable only to a select few. To ensure Action Sports Park is fully operational, we first need to consider how to properly staff the department instead of looking for ways to send this work out the door. So far, the city has not shown a true attempt to hire for these public positions, and now we're looking to privatize as a Band-Aid solution. We know that full and timely services, including those provided by PRNS, happen only when we have adequate staff. The city has failed so far to provide specific examples from other city contracts like those with municipal golf courses where similar risks posed by privatization have been effectively managed. So we ask you today to consider what will you do to protect city workers and what will you do to ensure that the community can trust you with other city services and recreational facilities moving forward. In closing, I urge you to reflect on the long-term implications of this potential plan. Please remember your commitment to community priorities such as keeping recreational services truly affordable and investing in city workers, their futures, and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is John Tucker. I'm here representing MEF AFSCME Local 101, which proudly supports the hardworking public employees who keep our city running smoothly. Here today because we believe the city and the department has not done enough due diligence to ensure the success of Lake Cunningham, specifically Action Sports Park, before considering putting out for this bid. PRNS has not fully explored all available options to enhance the park's operations through public means. Just found out today that the only requested of staff, or had one conversation, it sounds like, with staff about a managed plan that could keep the work done in-house. So we're deeply concerned about the impact on the community if this park is privatized. Action Sports Park is more than just a facility. It's a community hub where dedicated city employees have fostered strong relationships with local youth. Handing over control to private and likely out-of-town corporations risks diminishing the quality of services and community access, and would mean sending our hard-earned tax dollars away from San Jose. So we're asking that before the City Council considers awarding any contract, and by all means we understand that it's just at this point looking. But before awarding any bid, that we ask the department to do its due diligence and do the work necessary to make this park a success under public management. We believe that our city employees can rise to the challenge if given proper resources and support, and we should invest in them rather than outsource these jobs. Thank you.
Back to council.
All right, thank you. We'll turn to Councilmember Condelis.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate staff's work on the memorandum, and ultimately, I'm optimistic about, this being something fruitful for the community. And Lake Cunningham, as we all know, has been an underserved park in our city, and the need to explore avenues to secure funding and improve our amenities. We get that, but I do want to caution is that as we look to enhance the important community spaces, I think it's also important to be mindful of how our change in service delivery could potentially negatively impact our community. In this context, I do have a couple questions for staff. Specifically in the memorandum, I think it was criteria 4, page 5 of 8, in the attachment, there was a mention for staff who operates the action sports parks have been informed and are undecided if they are capable and interested in developing a managed competition proposal. And I was just wondering if staff could maybe provide a little bit of feedback or insights actually into those conversations, and what factors led to this assessment.
Thank you, Council Member. Avio Tom, Deputy Director of Parks. So we've had a couple conversations with the staff members who operate the Action Sports Park. First, back in February of this year, as our efforts around service delivery evaluation were really picking up. In that conversation, one of our parks managers, a middle manager, met with the full-time staff who operate the park to go over the service delivery evaluation process and explain that at the end of that, there could be an RFP. This morning, again, our park manager spoke again with several of the full-time staff on site and reported back that in this more detailed conversation, it wasn't clear right now whether staff had an interest in developing a managed competition proposal. And what I read into this is these are complicated city processes. For those of us who live it day to day, even an RFP, especially at this complexity, is a pretty significant workload. So for folks thinking about, is this something that they want to engage in themselves? I think it's a pretty daunting picture.
Okay, and so I guess maybe how have the attendance and revenue numbers at the sports park? How does that correlate to maybe budget and staffing levels over the past, say, 15 years? I mean, what's been the trend there? Or since the park opened, in 2016?
So, thank you, Council Member. So what I'll say is the park first opened in 2008 just as a skate park. In 2018, when we added a bike park and added more staff, definitely attendance rose. Over the last couple of years, we've seen lesser attendance, which I'll just say is correlated that we did reduce one position in the 2020 budget. As COVID hit, we had to make some reductions. But really the challenge that we see in the last couple of years is a result of winter storms and the challenge of recovering from those to bring the park into a condition that all the bike park users would really want.
Yeah, the bike park wasn't open this year until when?
Thank you, Councilmember Shannonheimer, Division Manager with Parks. It was reopened late spring, early spring, partially. So we have sections of it that are still needing repair.
So part of it is not even open. I know because I get the DMs, the phone calls about all the BMX, all the bike folks in my district that is not open.
Right, and we're working right now to finalize a contract with a vendor who can do that work for us. And that's been the typical model since opening the bike park for the maintenance.
Is there a connection between, say, budgeting, staffing, and revenue attendance?
Without the bike park fully open, yes, it has affected attendance.
Avi, did you have something to say?
Yeah, to complement what Shannon was explaining there, I think broadly speaking, if there are more staff, we expect to run more programming, have more camps and different opportunities for members of the community to learn how to do action sports. So I think generally, higher level of staffing, we'd expect more activity, but again, there's both attendance, revenue, and a cost all factored together there.
Gotcha. And then in the memorandum also suggests risks associated with this service delivery as a potential loss of community access and reduced facility maintenance can be we can manage these through contractual obligations, correct?
That's correct.
Can you provide some examples of that?
Well, you can require them, for example, to have any price changes approved by us, and that allows you to control pricing. You can also, in the ideal situation, this would result in them paying us a lease fee, right? Meaning not only would we not have operational costs, we could actually make revenue. That revenue can then be turned into projects or programs like scholarship programs or reduced memberships or day uses for people who qualify, right? So there are certainly ways to make sure that the public continues access, but just remember, it's a paid experience currently, right? It's not open to anybody who just walks up. You have to pay to use it.
Right, but we subsidize it to the tune of anywhere between 70 to 90%.
Yeah, you're seeing the subsidy here, right?
Right, and so what assurances do we have that these contractual safeguards will be sufficient in this case of whatever proposal we get? Is that going to be written in the RFP?
Yeah, it'll be in black and white, and they'll have to sign to it.
Okay, and I know there's obviously some questions from our labor organizations who represent the employees at the sports park, and I think there's work ahead, and I appreciate Avi and Director Cicerelli being available and answering some of these questions, but I think there's still questions to be answered. And I know I talked to you about doing an informational memorandum, say coming back to 6 to 8 weeks, just to update on the questions that are still outstanding. So with that, if we can do that, I'll move acceptance of the staff report with that informational memorandum.
Second time, yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember Candelas. Thank you to staff for all the work in the presentation. Councilmember Ortiz, did you want to chime in, or was that just your second?
Chime in a little bit.
Go for it.
Thank you guys for being here for the presentation. Thank you to our partners and labor also for raising their concerns. I think as someone who supports government jobs, I never want to be in a position where we're quote unquote privatizing jobs or contracting out city positions. But it's my understanding that these positions, or at least the workers who are currently in them, will be relocated to another position within the department, right?
Yeah, we have 3 full-time positions and then about 3.5 FTE of various part-time positions. All those positions exist in classifications that are very common within PRNS. And while I can't guarantee I have control over the budget, ultimately, actually, you do. You vote on it at the end. As we got closer, the way I look at this is really about fact-finding at this point. We just want to see what the market says to us that they might be able to do in this situation, and it's a particular opportunity to do that because we don't typically open up this whole area but once a generation. So we're taking a look at that. But if it started looking like, hey, there's probably a realistic proposal here that council would approve, then I would work with the budget office and just hold some vacant positions, working with them, just saying that's where they can land. Because again, it's a very small number of people that would be impacted by this.
And if I could just chime in here as city manager, it would be I just want to put it on the record, it'd be my intent that we did not have any layoffs if the council chose to go in this direction, just like with this budget process. Even I have some ability where I could hold over positions and do some temporary things to make sure, because I don't want to lose any good employees as a result of anything like this. And unless our budget was absolutely devastating, we'd be having a lot bigger conversation. But we would, it would be our intention to have all those people still employed in other jobs that were good fits for them. And so I just want to put that on the public record.
No, thank you, and that's why I was asking for the public record. I'd known this because I talked to my staff about it. So we're in a place where we're, discussing the potential contracting out or, quote unquote privatizing. What happened before we reached this level? Were there discussions by PRNS about, I guess, how to improve or I guess whether it's customer service or the money generated at the site, or I know that one of the difficulties mentioned was identifying proper individuals with the expertise to work in this park. Can you just walk us through some of the steps that PRNS took intentionally to prevent us from getting to this place?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember. So we've been doing things like, the staff has had an opportunity to really push marketing, especially in social media, to expand our demographic, to advertise to the local neighborhood as well as Bay Area wide, to draw people in, talk about the experiences you can do there, trying to work on having some more special events as well as operational hours and being open late on Friday nights under the lights in the skate park, those sort of opportunities. When recruiting, we've been very specific to try to target skill sets around skating and working at a facility like this. We're using general classifications, so we've added those skill sets as desirable qualifications and done our best to bring in part-time staff that can help with skating and skate skills and doing it in a way that the public is safe and enjoyable. It's been, in a general classification, that's a little bit more challenging to bring in that skill set. So those are some of the things we've tried and been working towards and continue to do now.
And can I add just quickly, I think part of what happened that got us here was in the storm from 2023, it really did kind of wreck that bike track. And it really drove home to us that we don't have the expertise to care for that in the right way and to continuously attract a lot of people, right? Because if it's not working right, they're not coming. And I think that really got us to the conversation of we need to think about this. Is this really a strong muscle for us, or is this a muscle that's not what we would like it to be? And that's what we concluded. But again, there's no guarantee that we don't continue to operate this. We may not get a proposal we like, or we may decide on something different down the road. We're just looking at this as an opportunity to take a look at that, as well as the marina that is there. Now, the marina is no longer staffed. We don't have staff working there, so there's no service impact at the marina. But we're throwing that in the mix and saying, look, there's a marina there too. There's this big picnic areas. There's all this stuff. We're interested beyond just the water park to hear your ideas. But really, the one absolute goal of the whole procurement process is a long-term operator for the water park. Everything else is secondary to that. And so it gives us options that then we will bring to you and say, here's what we think is the good option based on the responses we got.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that answer, John. How have you guys worked, with the community that currently uses the park right there? Have you reached out to, any of the patrons? Has there been, I don't know, like a discussion panel or information session about the decision that the city's in right now?
Not about the bike park, no.
Okay. Well, I mean, who knows? That may be that group may be individuals who would pose as potential candidates with the expertise to work in a bike park like that. So just want to make sure that, or here's a good question. How are we going to make sure that the public that uses the park will have their voices heard in this process?
Well, it is a public process. We weren't planning to do a common thing because, again, this is a very small facility and a small group of employees, and the main focus is the water park. So we weren't doing extensive public outreach because really we're just looking to change operators. We're not looking to change the nature of the park necessarily, although it's possible that some of the responses might want to do some substantial changes to the park, and we would certainly consider those. But if we were going to come forward and have a substantial change to the way that park operator looked, we would do community meeting about that and say, hey, we're considering making this recommendation. We want your feedback before we go to the city council with this recommendation.
Could the potential new operator, raise the cost for attending the park or visiting the park? Or
yeah, potentially, yeah.
Would you say that right now the operation of that park is not for profit? Could the operation of that park become for profit if a new operator comes?
Well, Raging Waters is for profit.
I'm not talking about Raging Waters. I'm talking about the park we're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's the hope. That's one of the main reasons for looking at it. And when you say the park, that makes me think very broadly and generally. I'm thinking very specifically in this case about Lake Cunningham Action Sports Park, right, which is within the larger park.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking to find out, is can it be profitable? Because to us, the investment we need to make To do more marketing and make more partnerships and things like that is probably beyond our ability to cost recover, given the attendance levels. Even if we got back to double the attendance levels we're doing now, we're still not breaking even.
Have we done anything to improve the attendance levels?
Well, those are some of the things that Shannon mentioned earlier about the marketing, the social media. I mean, that's where kids are, is on social media. You market when they're there. You know, we changed up the logo to try to make it more interesting and exciting for people to engage with. So we have tried a few things, but the reality is we don't have big budget for this, so we don't have an ability to follow through on a lot of ideas that people might have or things they might like us to do or things we might like to do. For example, just fixing that bike track.
Yeah, I guess just a few things. Thank you for your answers. Just, you know, I keep hearing people say, oh, these are only 3 people. I guess if those people were watching this meeting right now, they'd really care about themselves and those jobs. So we don't want to minimize anything that could, you know, impact individuals or individuals who go to the park. And, you know, I do have concerns about this, you know, if it does turn into a for-profit, quote-unquote business or whatever it would be, that the prices could increase that would prevent some populations from accessing it. So if that is the case, I'm hoping that there are some considerations for low-income families or anything in that matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Let's go over to Councilmember Batra.
Thank you very much. I'm going to pick up from the point where Councilmember Ortiz left. In case it does end up getting privatized, please do keep in mind the need for being able to serve those low-income people with special rates or whatever those have to be, the arrangement, because our public resources, assets, are meant for the public, and that is for all the public. So I would totally support anything in that direction. I do want to ask a question. Is this anything closer to what our golf situation was?
Yeah, it's the same kind of model, which is that you have an operator, a private operator. It's still a private-public partnership, but instead of the city having the liability of the expense of caring for it and operating it, you just collect lease, and then you hold them accountable for their contract.
Okay. And you still have a fair degree of control on it, right?
Yeah, you build it in the contract. So the very things the three of you have been talking about, for example, in allowing public access or reduced prices or scholarships, those kind of things, those are the kind of things we build into the contract itself.
Yeah, so I think your change of the model for the golf courses turned out to be profitable for the city to be able to get the golf courses be available to the public in a proper manner and still not have a burden on the general funds.
Yeah, that one's going better than we anticipated, frankly. Yeah.
Yes, so I hope that you replicate that to this situation and while taking care of those low-income people so that they have equal access, if not better access, okay? So with that one, I'll be supporting the resolution here. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember. I was actually going to mention that exact analogy of the golf courses, which I think is a pretty good model and has some access provisions in the contract. So I appreciate you referencing that. Councilmember Dewan?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for the report. I think it's a win-win situation. I think not only the city get some funding, the local will continue with different jobs and even perhaps some new position. And I think the private-public collaboration is a must. And I don't think the city is in a place where we have enough knowledge to control these parks. And by having a private entity will create a lot of jobs right here in the city of San Jose, and I think that's important. And I'll be very supportive of this program. Thanks.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're doing the exploration. We've got the, thanks for those comments. We've got the motion from Councilmember Candelas with the request for the information memo, as I understood it. Second from Ortiz. Some good comments that we can take up again when we come back and learn more from the process. So with that, I think we're ready to vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all. That concludes our agendized items. We are on to open forum. There's an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any city business that was not on today's agenda. Tony, do we have any public
Yes, I have
comment?
Lori and Pachuco. Please come on down. First person on the microphone, just go ahead and start.
Great. Do we have Lori or Pachuco here? Not seeing anyone come down. Okay, come on down. Whoever comes down first is welcome to start. You'll have 2 minutes here at the podium.
Hi, my name is Pachuco Agblog. It's a little bit off topic, but I guess better to tell everybody at once, right? Instead of trying to email and track everybody down. With that being said, I think since 2018, I've been trying to find help, and I'm not getting it right. It was obvious Samuel Theodora Liccardo became the mayor again in 2018. I just got, released from prison, being wrongly convicted and framed by him. I went everywhere I think I could have to get some kind of assistance, pro bono, public defender's office. It was just a setback after setback, right? Not including jobs, right? Getting treated horrible at job sites. Even the union, right? And I get it, right? I got 5 sisters, right? 11 aunts. I get the aspect of protecting women, right? By far. But to be accused of that and then going places and then just, I just got beaten down to where now I'm homeless, right? So it's about money. Because if I had money, I wouldn't be here, right? It'd be easy. So I don't know where else to go, right? I just need to be exonerated, right? If they would just do the simplest things and go ask his witnesses, right? And the comments he made to me in trial, the threats he made to my mother, supposedly supposed to protect women, and told her, you fucking bitch, stay away from my fucking witnesses or I'll put you in jail.
That's your time?
Can we
No, your time is up. It's been 2 minutes.
That was the 2 minutes. I appreciate you being here. I know we got your email before the meeting, and we'll follow up to see if we can connect you with some resources. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker.
And what was the name of the other speaker, Tony? I'm not seeing anyone else.
Sorry, I thought I saw a woman get up, but yeah, it was Gloria, and it looks like she's gone.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. We're adjourned.